Hi, Mike. You are muted. Unmute yourself. Can't hear you.
Unmute.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic.
Nice,
Well,
nice to see you.
I can see you, and on the Cuckoo Net, I usually follow you. You usually get the guests that I want to have guests also. So
Yeah.
I said, ditto Dorothy.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
Where is everybody else? It's after 7 o'clock.
Well, it's just Brian.
I haven't seen or heard him yet.
Well, he's the K6TZ, unless that's Levi.
Okay, I got a Beulah
Haas.
Haas.
Yeah, and there's John E is coming.
Who's Haas?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
There's a lot of new members.
Well, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. We need membership.
Right. Well, we're up to about 160 now. So.
Well, that's fantastic. Have you heard any words on any particular events coming up in the way of
Nope.
amateur communications?
Nope.
I haven't either.
Nothing.
Well, one of those things there. I haven't heard of any. Last one I did was the Los Angeles Marathon, and that was a year ago. A year ago March. That was the last one.
Oh, you did that in March, yeah. No, I stopped doing them. So,
There was supposed to be another one in March of this year, but then it got postponed until later to the spring. Then they canceled it for then, and then now they've got it rescheduled for November. So now the Los Angeles Marathon is going to be on November 7th.
oh,
And that's where it's presently planned, and I've temporarily signed up for it. That is, if they're going to have it, my name is on the list.
how far north do they go?
Well, they started at Dodger Stadium and they run down to near Santa Monica. Then they turn around and they end up at They end up in Hollywood. It's Century City is where they end up. They end up in Century City.
Yeah, well, that's too far for me to go. So,
Well, you get to get them out. And the thing about it is, well, what's nice about it is they have one repeater. It's 70 centimeters, but it's one repeater. And the people at Dodger Stadium are communicating with the people as far west as Santa Monica.
wow.
With none of this, find a clear spot, find a hot spot, move your location. That's nonsense. There's none of that.
They don't have enough. They don't have enough repeaters.
It's fantastic. It's one repeater, just one repeater.
Oh,
One repeater because it covers from downtown Los Angeles at Dodger Stadium all the way out to the waterfront, and which basically is the distance of the 26 miles. And but in this year they're not going all the way to Santa Monica. They're going to turn around and come back and end up in Century City, which is I think in Beverly Hills. I'm not certain just exactly where it is, but
that's really hard to do with an HT, isn't it?
well, it works. But it works. The repeaters are up on Hollywood Hills, and it works fantastically.
Oh, I thought you said you had to find a hot spot or a sweet spot.
No. There is no find hot spot nonsense. There's 40 people on the repeater, and it works beautifully. That's the thing about it. Amateur radio there works great.
Huh.
It really does. Fantastic. And that's what makes it fun to do, is because you can key the microphone and you know that somebody's going to hear you. Anyway.
Are you doing 220 or just the?
Yes. No, it's on 70 centimeters. 440.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
So are the repeaters that good?
The repeater is on the Hollywood Hills sign.
And do they have any other repeaters that are connected to it?
No.
Just one.
Now, I'm not going to say there aren't backup repeaters, but there's just one repeater.
Huh.
Yeah. And it goes
Hi,
from
Danny.
downtown LA all the way out to the coast.
Hi, Denny. You're muted. Can't hear you.
Oh, I see Dennis in there.
I think John installed that in my, he mutes me. And Mike did the other day too.
Did what?
He muted me.
Oh, because you were talking too much, maybe.
Yeah.
Interrupting.
Hey, Dorothy, Doc, and everyone. Hi there.
Hi, Dennis.
Yeah, another nice day.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad. I thought it started out cool. It
Yeah.
got up to 68.
Yeah, which is pretty good.
About 4:30. Yeah.
Tomorrow's supposed to be warmer and Sunday as well.
Oh,
I
good.
don't,
There's Levi.
I don't have a photo. I don't have a picture of Dennis.
You don't? Don't I have
No,
the,
no.
hold on.
He hasn't put one on his Zoom.
Wait. Oh, here.
I see Levi.
Okay, there, you should see me now.
There's
I thought
Dennis.
yeah,
see
I thought I
Dennis.
turned it on and it wasn't on.
We can see you,
I
Dennis.
see Dennis.
Yep, there you go. Now
Hey,
you can see all my radios.
And Dennis again.
Oh, look at all his radios. Wow.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah,
Well, you've got an investment there.
yeah, I do. No tower, but that's all right. I got the double loop. So it works real well.
Hi, Levi.
Hi, Dorothy. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Levi.
Hey,
Hey,
Levi.
Doc. Hey, Dennis.
One of these days, I'm going to get together with you, see how you get a all-star node. We get one started.
I think is that your phone, Dennis?
Uh,
Was that your
uh,
phone?
No, I don't think so.
No. Oh, okay. Oh, it's Doc's. Because the phone rang and then you started breaking up. So you said you wanted to get together,
yeah.
but I don't know what it was about.
Oh, I'll get the all-star node.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'd like to get one because I'll order a clear node.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go. I've heard good things about the clear node. The Shari node I have was a little less expensive, but a couple times I've had to go in and fix some solder joints, and
Oh boy.
you have to do surface mount soldering to build it, and that's really hard with fat tools,
Yeah, and I guess the guy will set it up for you as long as you have the node on your Wi-Fi and whatever else.
Yeah, you just give them all the information.
Information, yeah. So I want to try that because
Okay.
I want Matt to look at it because he's the one that really makes the audio sound good.
Well,
Like,
I think.
Austin, his audio,
Mm-hmm.
how great it is, and even Dave has good audio.
I think they come with pretty good audio settings. It's dialed in and matched really well, so there's not much you have to do.
Okay, yeah. So
Compared to Echolink, that sounds terrible.
Oh yeah.
No matter what device you're on.
Yeah, Echolink. Well, they never updated the bit rate. It's still at what,
No.
8 or 6 or whatever it is. So,
No, it's
yeah.
It's terrible.
So one of these days, I'll talk to you on the phone. Maybe you can just do it over line.
Yeah.
And okay, make it easier. How is Daniela doing?
She's good. She's
Another
going
week?
in next Wednesday. Yeah.
Next Wednesday. Okay.
Yep.
The 23rd?
First.
No,
First.
1st. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, that's right. I have a tuning on that day. Okay. Cool.
Are you leaving? Can you get me a water? I think there's some bottled in the fridge there.
Drink that water.
Sydney's getting it for me. Is there water in there? No. I'll look.
Let's see. See how many's on here.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, 9 people on. Okay.
Brian didn't post the YouTube link. Maybe he's doing that now.
Chris, Dorothy, Levi. There's
Oh,
Mike.
you want to see them?
Wheeler High. Dennis Franklin. Huh. Johnny.
Say hi to Dennis.
Hi.
It's neat. I can go through the
Hi.
participants and see who's on.
Say hi, Dennis. It's Sydney.
Hi.
Tell him who it is.
Hi.
Sydney.
Hey, Sydney, how's your piano doing?
Good.
Are you learning from Sharon Small?
She's with Carrie. Yeah, Carrie Small.
I mean, Carrie. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Carrie Small.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's a nice lady.
Dennis tunes Carrie's piano.
Yeah.
So he goes to the house, make sure it's. How often do you have to do that with a piano that doesn't move in someone's house? Like annually?
Yeah, yearly. She does
Yeah.
a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Because I guess she uses it a little bit. So she
Yeah.
does like every 6 months or
Okay.
whatever. It takes about an hour and a half to do it.
Bye. All right. I'll see you later. It takes about an hour and a half to tune a piano like that.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Since it's near pitch and all that, and it's like 250 strings you got to match and all that sort of stuff. So it works out well.
Is it like tuning a guitar, Dennis? Do you start on one and then work off of that?
Yep. Each key has 3 strings, however, and then when you're in the bass, it has 2 strings, and then the top, the bottom, maybe 7 are single string wound, wound with heavy brass or whatever it's called, and they're the round all the way up to maybe the 2 C's above from the bottom. And then there's 3 strings all the way to the top, and they're different thicknesses as you go up higher. So they're a gauge, from 18, 19, 17, all the way down to about 13 gauge numbers. Yeah. And the scales are different. This is how the best for them. The moving parts, over 8,000 moving parts on the things, because, you got 88 keys and all sorts of things have to move around. It's like half circles, everything goes.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Levi, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right, thanks.
Are you?
Hey, Ken.
That's a background. You're not really in front of that stuff.
Yeah, I just took a picture of it. It's the other room. I decided I'm in my den instead of in the shack. If I moved in the shack, that would be my real background. Let's see what would happen let me try turning this off. Let's see if I can actually turn it off here. Background and filters, none. There we go.
Yeah.
My real background.
Shut that door.
Are your shelves crooked or is your camera crooked?
That's a good question. Well, the shelves are definitely not crooked, so I don't know what's crooked. Is it the monitor?
Yeah, it's leaning.
Even Dennis
like
can see it.
I can see it. It's so bad.
That's weird.
Yeah. Leaning
Maybe it's
terra
the
pizza.
angle. You might not be looking at them straight on. I bet that's it.
Sit in front of it.
Yeah, it was is that straight now?
Yeah. It just, we're looking at your top of your head.
Those are straight, but the verticals don't look straight. That still looks crooked. That's weird.
I can go crooked. I don't know if it does.
What happened to Brian? Was he
I
on
don't
at all?
know. He'll pop on. Hey, OJ went all the way up to Los Olivos, and he was using 7,000 and worked pretty good there, Ken.
Really?
Yeah.
Los Olivos, huh? Did he the whole way, or did he get dropouts on the way?
Trace little bits, but not much.
So do you think it's working better than it was a few weeks ago?
It's hard to tell, but maybe, yeah, it's pretty good. although I know it's transmitting more than it was because I go through Las Positas and there's hardly any flutter at all. It doesn't hear me sometimes in there with 50 watts. So you must type it up to 100 watts or whatever, 80 watts or whatever.
Oh, the UHF. Wait a minute. Is that one 100 watts? Let me hang on a second. Let me think. No, I think the UHF was not 100 watts. I think that's only 30. Yeah, I was only measuring 35 on it over the weekend. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's really clear in the Gulf, Las Positas. Just
Good.
a trace of real light flutter.
Huh. All
I
right.
know, I couldn't believe it.
So you want to see what I got for it today, Dennis? It just showed up 5 minutes ago. I can't get it
You
there.
bet. Somebody
Oh.
can describe it to me.
Yeah, I'll describe. How come it's doing that? It's a serial device server. It's very small. It's about the size of a pack of cigarettes. It's called a Moxa or a Moxa.
Oh, okay.
It's got two RS-232 ports on it. It has an Ethernet port on it, and then it has a little spot where you inject 12 to 48 volts power into it. And what it does is I'll make a special cable that'll go between this and the repeater. The repeater has a serial port on it. It's an RJ45 female instead of a D connector. It looks like an Ethernet connector, so you have to be careful to not plug the wrong thing into it.
Right.
And that's the same thing the Moxa has. So all I have to do is create a quasi Ethernet cable. I'll have to look at the pinouts and see, how I have to pin it out. But I'll have just a Cat5 cable going from this little server to the repeater, and then I plug Ethernet into the other end of it. And then I run a special client on my Windows box at home, and it attaches this, and it just transports the RS-232 to my house, so I can actually run the Motorola repeater software that's specific to that repeater on my Windows box here, and it'll transport the packets up to the repeater through this little box that'll sit up on the hill, so it'll look exactly like I'm consoled into the repeater via RS-232.
Oh, great.
So I can run this old program on my XP box. You can't run it on anything newer, and talk to the repeater to look if there's a problem with it, which I can't do right now. And it would have helped to troubleshoot it because we just don't have any way to see it up there. Well, kind of a neat little device.
That sounds good. Even if it was a loose pin, so you'd still have to go up there to change that pin.
Yeah, I wouldn't have saved, but at least, when I was troubleshooting it, it came up and told me it was having issues with the transmitter, and at least I would have known.
Yeah.
And I mean, so I talked to Jim Lufborough about it. I told him what the error was, and then I walked away and troubleshot it. And within, half hour, 45 minutes, I figured it out, and I walked back into my den, and there was a note from him. And within 1 minute of me telling him what the symptom was, he said, "It sounds like there's a loose cable." I mean, that's how familiar he is with these things. I mean, just from my description, he immediately assumed that the cable was loose. So
yeah,
if I had been able to, diagnose that remotely, and then I was armed with Jim's quick response before Mike went up there, I could have at least said, "Hey, before you rip it out of the rack, why don't you check and make sure this cable's loose?" And hopefully he would have noticed it was loose, plugged it in, and it wouldn't have had to come off the hill. So.
Oh boy, okay, cool. That's neat. That'll save some time.
Hey, Brian,
Yeah.
are you gonna put the YouTube link on the website, or I noticed that there's nothing right now?
No, it's there.
It is? Let me see. No, the first thing is the TZ Club station. I don't see anything about the meeting.
It was just up there a minute ago. I wonder what's going on.
Levi, I just went into the study. I got out of the den and now I'm in the study.
You mean the control center? NASA headquarters or Johnson Space Center?
It's the Knocket Impulse.
The Knocket Impulse, is it? No. It's Johnson Space Center, isn't it?
what it is. It's some image I found digging around.
It's the knock-in impulse. I was like, how come you never showed me that?
Hey, Ken, did Impulse move?
About 5 years ago.
No, I mean, off of Hollister. Is it still on Hollister?
Oh no, it's still there.
Oh,
There's
okay.
like nobody there ever because of COVID. I mean, it's like, you know, what was it, 10, 15,000 square feet with like 5 people in it?
Yeah. Do you own that building?
Oh, I wish I did. I tried to buy a building for Impulse when we moved, and I had one in escrow, and I was literally a few days away from closing, and my contractor got an aneurysm, and the person selling it, we needed another week. And they refused to give us another week, and I lost escrow. I worked on that thing for months. It was, I mean, like probably close to 14, 16 hours a day on that escrow. I was really upset when they wouldn't give us a few more days. Otherwise, we would own our own building, and that $20,000 you spent on rent every month would be going, with 17 of it would be going to a mortgage. It'd be cheaper not own the building. But that was a very frustrating part of my life, that 6 months. So we're renting.
yeah.
We're renting. It's owned by John. What's his last name? I forgot. I know him. I can't think of his last name all of a sudden. He bought it. It was a Forestry Service building originally. When it was really ugly, and they put about $1 million into it. Put the big windows in it. Used to have those funny little skinny windows right at the top.
And allow.
Levi, I put the wrong time on it to expire it
Oh, that's what it was. Okay.
because I kept setting it and it showed up there for a minute and then it disappeared.
That makes sense. Well, I see it now.
Dorothy, it belongs to John DeMarcus. I don't know if you know him or not, but that's who owns it.
Did any part of Impulse move? I mean, like the billing office, or
No,
I think I saw a Firestone address.
Firestone. No, we've never been there. We started over on David Love Place in my building I own. We were there for probably 15 years, and we moved over to oh no, we're not in Hollister. Sorry.
We're in Kyrie,
We're over at Real. So we moved to Hollister, and we were there for 5 years next to the hospital. And then we moved over above Spectrum Gym about 5 years ago. And that's on Real.
Right, okay.
That's the current address. That's John DeMarcus's building.
That
And
was
we
more
were-
than 5 years ago, wasn't it, Ken?
I don't think so. We renewed the lease. Gosh. I don't know. I'm pretty bad with time. It's possible.
Yeah.
Well, let me think. We started in 95. So it's 26 years, 15 years in the first place.
Your
Yeah, no, it
pictures.
should be about that.
Did you see that?
Ken, you still have my email address. It's for Silcom.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we're still talking very seriously about divesting ourselves of our email server, though.
Oh,
Like I mentioned.
no, you can't do that.
Yeah, we have
No.
to. We can't handle
No.
it anymore. It's getting out. It's getting completely out of hand. The amount of spam that comes in and the amount of resources we dedicate to that machine.
No, you
We're
can't do it.
losing money on it.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, you can't do it because Dennis has it too. He's got West.
Oh no, we wouldn't get rid of the domain. I'm just talking about the mail server. Now the domain it'll last forever. We just don't. We can't handle running that mail server anymore. So we're probably going to have to.
They'll just outsource it, right?
We'll probably kind of. I think what we're going to probably do. There's another company that's specializing only in email that's in our group, and we'll probably give it to them, and then they'll just give us some residuals on it or something like that. I don't think we tried some outsourcing avenues, but they all kind of fell through. None of them are very good. I mean, most of them don't really want to outsource anymore. So I think this is probably our next best. I haven't really been involved in that part of it. Gosh, oh, that's the Hollister one. That's why. The wrong lease. Got me all curious, Levi. So we moved 10 years ago into the Hollister location. That was in 2011. And then in the current one, my lease goes back to 2015. So May of 2015. So 6 years.
Okay.
8, 5, 6, 3.
1 minute.
Just about, yeah.
Two minutes.
1 minute.
Boy, everybody's looking good out there, aren't they? Yeah. They do.
Hey, Brian, look at that.
Who's this guy? We're all laughing. Oh, just smile.
There's Daryl. He's a little late.
Okay.
There you go.
Daryl Wedman, that's where it is. Okay. President from 95 to 96.
We've got 5 more on YouTube.
Hey.
Hey, we can even hear you, Daryl.
I was telling the board I saw Daryl Woodman in the flesh for the first time in more than a year at the Santa Barbara Electronics Supply Store this week.
That's right. I saw him too.
Yep, you're on mute, Daryl. Larry's on Mars. Rod is in the command module orbiting Mars.
Yeah, that
Why
kind
not?
of looks like it, doesn't it?
How do you see all those different? Okay, gallery view. Is that it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Got it. Still learning.
We got 17 on Zoom and 5 on YouTube. So
Yeah.
I guess we ought to get started here. There's always a couple late comers, but we'll keep an eye out here. Just a second.
Brother Ken's antenna farm.
Levi, I'm making you a co-host here
Okay.
in case I miss somebody if they're checking in or in the waiting room.
Okay.
Okay, well, good evening, everybody. This is, it's April already. Seems like we've been doing this for quite a while. And I'm hoping we're going to be able to get back to having a real meeting here this summer sometime. And we're going to try and figure out a way to integrate Zoom in it too. So those of you that are far away or whatever and want to participate in the meeting will still be able to. So there's, I think we can do it fairly easily with a large monitor and a computer, and we can point the computer at the front of the room. So we'll figure out a way. Let me see. Well, let's start out here with, I found my month I didn't have my flag, but let's start out here with the Pledge of Allegiance. Got to make sure my flag's on the right side here. Does it look right?
Wonderful.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Oh,
right.
looks great.
I pledge allegiance
To the
To the
flag
flag
of
The
the
United
United
States of
States of
America.
America,
Republic
and to the republic for which it
and
stands,
nation
one
one
nation,
nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty, and
with
justice for
liberty
all.
and justice for all.
Play ball.
play ball.
I didn't bring a mitt.
That reminds me of Christmas Vacation. You know, the everything's blowing up at the end of the movie, and the old lady is. They ask her to say a prayer or something, and she says, "The Pledge of Allegiance." That's right. When they were eating dinner.
All right.
Okay, let's see. There may be some people here that others don't know, so let's go around the room here, and we're gonna introduce ourselves. I'm Brian, K6 BPM. Then on my, I'll do it. Mike CBB. You want to introduce yourself?
Hello.
Okay. Dorothy.
I'm Dorothy, K6 DSO. I'm secretary
guess-
of the club.
Doc is still indisposed here. Levi.
Levi, K6 LCM.
Yeah, the birthday boy, Dennis.
Oh. Good evening, everyone. WB6 Oscar, Bravo, Bravo, Santa Barbara, and on the Mesa. And hope everybody has a great weekend and enjoy the meeting tonight.
So you chose to spend your birthday with us?
I know. Can you believe that? It's hard to believe. Gonna go to Mulligan's tomorrow, though. Get some prime rib.
All right, that's good. Let's see. Next is Ken.
Ken, K6KEN.
Then in the lunar module, Rod.
Unmute myself. Rod, KA6GSU.
Okay, then QWT.
QW, where am I? K7 QWT, Cindy and Bob QWQ. We're visiting. Thank you for letting us watch and join.
Oh, sure. Everybody's welcome. We're not, we'll, the more the merrier here.
We've missed you guys.
Mike,
Mike,
Mike, yeah.
W0 JFB. The thing in the background there is a ultra flex solar array that I built 3 prototypes for the Orion project. That's coming up to go to Mars. So that's one of the things I worked on.
All right, let's see. Addison. You're muted. Unmute yourself, Addison.
Yeah, now I'm unmuted. Okay. Kilo Mike 6, Victor Sierra Sierra. A relatively new member.
And on Mars, Larry.
Yeah, WA6MVJ, the lonely voice of downtown Nolita.
AI6VX.
Dave, AI6VX from Ventura, and like the backside of Ventura.
Daryl. You're next, Daryl.
Hey, good evening, everybody, and happy birthday, Dennis. By golly, good to see you all tonight. This is Daryl, KF6DI.
And Will, W6DOM. You're muted, Will.
I hope that's working. The line's very poor here. Sorry about that. I'm W6DM. I live at Malibert Retirement Community in Santa Barbara.
All right. Colin.
Hopefully everybody can hear me. This is Colin, KM6OLA.
Haven't seen you for a while.
I know the Friday nights have been conflicted. I'm sorry. I wish I could have said I had a better attendance, but here I am tonight.
Well, good. Glad you made it. Joe.
Joe, K6GW. And happy birthday, Dennis.
And Chris.
I'm right out here if you can see me. I don't know if you can.
Yeah.
Outstanding. It's the first time for me. I had do a little bit of exploration to find you out here. It worked out.
Well, good. Let's see, Jerry.
And U6B here up in Prescott Valley, Arizona. Background Sedona.
Yeah, I was going to say. I think I've seen that before.
Yeah.
It's a little lighter. How's everything in there, Arizona?
Oh, so it's okay. Yeah, we're hanging in here, trying to improve the property and just checking out to see when Echolink gets back on. But when it does, I'll be back.
Hey, Jerry, get All-Star and you'll be better off.
You have All-Star too?
Yeah.
Yeah. All-Star works so much better than Echolink because it's.
They get All-Star. Yeah, it's way, way better.
I'll look into that. Thanks.
The clear node.
Yeah, there's a couple of things out there that are pretty easy to use. You can use them with your computer or with an HT, or you've got a lot of different options. Let's see, Stephen Pope.
Good evening, friends. Happy birthday, Daryl. Not Daryl, happy birthday, Dennis. Whiskey 6 Sierra Tango Papa, coming to you all from Mission Canyon. And I'm on my phone, so I don't have the camera turned on.
Oh, okay. Let's see, who else here? Well, Harry's logging in. I haven't seen Harry in a while. Can you hear us, Harry? All right, and then we have 6 unidentified people on YouTube watching, so we're up to 27 meeting attendees tonight. Or actually, one of those YouTube people is me, so 26. Let me see. Anybody have any announcements or anything before we get started?
Oh, I am looking, if anybody has one, I'm looking for some kind of a material or pipe rack. I need to store a bunch of old antennas that are basically just aluminum tubing outdoors. So if anyone's got like a workshop material rack like you see in a machine shop or something like that you're trying to get rid of, let me know.
Does it matter if it's attached to an old truck?
Depends. I gotta see it.
It's a good way for somebody to get rid of some old work truck.
I was gonna ask if the truck came with it.
Just park it over there. You can load it up, huh?
Perfect.
Okay, let's see. Anybody else? Okay, one of the things, if you've been on the website recently, that the club is working on is a station in Carpinteria, and it's not just a station. It's part of a new Channel Islands exhibit or museum. What would you call it, Levi?
It's called the Chrisman California Island Center.
Okay. Anyway, it's they turned the old Bank of America building down there into a new, or they're working on it now and turning it into a new a building that's all dedicated to stuff about the Channel Islands. And Levi's been working with their director, and we are actually going to have a permanent presence down there with our own little radio station, and it's going to be pretty cool. Anyway, Levi's going to tell us a little about it because it's an ongoing project, and we're going to be involved in it for a while, for a long time, hopefully, and he can give you some idea of what we're doing.
Sure. Yeah. Let me. Don't have an electronic version of this, but this hopefully will give you kind of an idea of the space that we've got. Basically, as Brian said, the Bank of America building on Linden and Carpinteria Avenue is being converted into a gallery and museum, not just for the Channel Islands, but all of the California islands from Oregon to the Mexico border. So we have a 12x7 space, as you can see on this floor plan here, right next to the reception. And let me share my screen and I'll give you a better idea of what that will look like. So this is a rough mock-up of the space that we did with a 3D rendering program here. The idea is that this is not only a station for us to operate, which we're invited to use anytime we want. We can have events down there. We could have, you know, a Saturday gathering there if we wanted to, but also it is open to the public so they can peer in on what amateur radio and what the club and the Wireless Foundation are doing throughout the county, throughout the islands. So it'll provide educational outreach into the community as part of a permanent gallery space at this center. Our vision right now is to set this up as a UHF, as a HF through UHF. So UHF, VHF, microwave, as well as HF frequencies, and be able to operate on all bands and all modes. And when we're not there physically, we'll have an interactive exhibit so that when folks come up, they'll actually won't be able to step into the station. They'll be behind, if you can imagine you know, when you go to an exhibit at, say, the Natural History Museum, you stand kind of behind a pony wall there, and occasionally they'll have a little plaque there that tells you what you're looking at. Well, our idea is to have an interactive plaque that you can actually press and you can interact with the radios. There'll be a 55-inch monitor on the wall behind there, and there'll be a short presentation about the different capabilities that the club has. We'll talk about our AIS vessel tracking, our ADS-B aircraft tracking, our station out on Santa Cruz Island at Diablo Peak with the webcam, as well as all the other locations throughout the county where we have repeaters and digital and analog communication systems. So I think, you know, I'm sure everyone's encountered it, right? People find out you're an amateur radio operator and they say, oh yeah, you guys are in the basement with the Morse code. And it's like, no, this is so much more than that. We're that plus everything else. And although Morse code is the most popular mode in contests on HF still, it's not the only thing that our hobby is about. And hopefully this will let people see how inclusive and how diverse our activities are in the radio club. So yeah, that interactive plaque will be something that you can press on and see the short presentation, as well as hopefully maybe tune the radios, mess around, and we'll have them operate as much as we can let them do without a license. And of course, if we're there, then we can bring people behind the counter and let them play with the radios as well. So this presentation here is on the front of the sbarc.org website. It's just a quick write-up to kind of let folks know where we're at right now. It's a partnership between the Radio Club and our Wireless Foundation, along with the Santa Cruz Island Foundation, which those of you who don't know the history of the Santa Cruz Island Foundation and Santa Cruz Island itself, back in 1937, Ed Stanton, seen here in this photo, operating on the HF bands from the island, from Santa Cruz Island. He purchased the island, most of the island, for his for ranching operations, and his son Carrie Stanton inherited the ranch, and then Carrie Stanton left the land that his family owned to the Nature Conservancy. So the island is owned by the National Park Service today, and half of it's owned by the Nature Conservancy. But in doing so, they also turned their family business, the Santa Cruz Island Company, into the Santa Cruz Island Foundation. And Marla Daly, who is the executive director of the presently of the Santa Cruz Island Foundation, worked for the family and oversaw operations back when Carrie Stanton was alive. And today she oversees the foundation, ensures that what happens on the island is in the spirit of what the Stanton family wanted. And she preserves all of the records from history of their activities and previous activities, going back to the Shumash, and the Island of the Blue Dolphins is a favorite kids story that she likes to use to draw kids into the history of the Channel Islands. As they transition from their current location, which is a small office in Carpinteria, to the gallery and center at the Chrisman, California Island Center. They're expanding beyond just Santa Cruz Island and the Channel Islands to all of the California islands and trying to preserve history from, all the Farallones and Coronado and all of the islands in California. So there'll be sort of a mini Smithsonian of California island history. Over the years, the radio clubs had numerous operations. So while the Stantons may have been among the first HF operators on the island, or ham operators on the island, they were the first of many. Here's a shot from, I think, the early 90s of Santa Barbara Amateur Radio Club members doing a UHF field day out on Santa Cruz. And then, of course, here's a video which I've shown, I think, in a previous meeting this year of current capabilities and radio club assets that are out on Diablo Peak on Santa Cruz. So right now I'm working on getting funding for this. There's a few grants out there that support this kind of outreach, particularly because we have the opportunity to get into the community and really present amateur radio in a way that it's not normally seen. So I'm hopeful that that will be inspiring to these grant fulfillment folks, these foundations who have money, who are looking to use it to advance amateur radio. So if we can get the project fully funded through those grants, then there'll be limited need for fundraising. If we can't, then we'll probably do some fundraising with the club members and look and see if we can find vendors and manufacturers who would be interested in helping us populate the station with the radios and equipment that we need. Here's a rough outline of the things I'm thinking. They're in no particular order because I'm in the process of writing the grant right now. So this is a quick punch list of wish list of things that I'd like to see us add to the station. We're gonna have to build the California Islands Center is providing the space for us, and they're providing the back wall with the 55-inch monitor. We'll have to bring in our own furniture. We're looking at a T-shaped desk that allows us to put everything in the back. So when the public's there, they can't actually touch anything and break anything, but that it still feels interactive and welcoming when we're there operating, and we can invite people behind the counter to operate if we can supervise them. Of course, we'll have to buy shelving and racks and chairs. We're looking at the Yaesu FTDX10 HF radio, which is an SDR that has the ability to put its SDR screen and waterfall display on a HDMI monitor behind us. So it seems like the perfect match for public demonstration of things. Some wall clocks. Of course, we'll try to get some good mics and booms in there. You saw on the on this here, we've got the logos behind us. So I'm hoping to do something like they have at City Hall or county chambers, council, or the supervisors chambers, where they have the big seal behind them. I'd like to get our club logo there so people recognize us, and we have some brand recognition when we're not there. We'll also look at doing 220 megahertz as well as digital on VHF and UHF. Interactive display components are just those things that'll operate the display and the touchpad at the front so people can interact with it when we're not there. I'd like to see us get an iMac as well as a Windows computer. VHF, UHF antennas. The Barker and Williams is the embassy antenna that we have at presently have at the Red Cross building that works pretty well for us in a limited space. Power supplies. We'll need to do some software development, do an on-air sign, a police scanner. My vision for this, when folks are when we're not operating, when there aren't any ham operators there, if someone is interacting with the pad and let's say they want to listen to HF and they want to hear, we have the ability to pre-program some memory. So maybe they hit a button and they listen to a contest that's going on that weekend. So they'll press the button, and behind the HF radio, maybe it lights up some RGB lighting, red, green, blue LEDs that come up just to let you know where that sound is coming from. And that, like the Hall of Presidents, when they activate Abraham Lincoln, he gets spotlighted. So it'll be a little bit of an interactive feel to it. So people will have some sense that even though nobody's there demonstrating it, that they have a guide and they know what they're looking at, and it's not just a total vacuum. battery backup system is Wayne's idea. He'd like to set us up with some solar and have it be off grid and carbon neutral and green and all that. So that's kind of a cool idea to say, not only is this station ready for an emergency, but it's also totally independently powered. It's not drawing from the grid. We'll also try to get it on our mesh network and also have a microwave data link to our backbone wireless network that connects all of our sites together. So that's the project. Feel free to go through and read in detail what's going on here. I'll try to send out updates and funding updates and progress updates. The plan is to open, I believe they're trying to open by the end of this year. They're hoping that COVID restrictions will be lifted. And actually it's really good timing because they're about, I don't know, 30%, 40% through construction, let's say. And I think they'll be able to open in time for museums really coming back in full swing again. So
Question.
Sure, who has a question?
Mike.
Mike, go ahead, Mike.
This is a fantastic, great idea. Have you any plans for ISS communication?
So now I don't have to do anything, just watch it.
Hold on just a sec. Let me do this. Mike, if you'll unmute yourself, I'm just trying to hear only you.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There we go. That's okay. No, I muted everybody. So yeah, you asked about ISS communication.
Yeah. That would be a fantastic draw and maybe good donation process.
Yeah, on a day-to-day basis, when it's working, I think it's up now, you can do packet radio with the ISS and ping packets back and forth whenever it flies over. In order to get ISS communication by voice, you have to have a scheduled contact. So that'd be something we could definitely, it's a perfect venue to do that. And we would have the ability to run cables up to the roof to do the satellite tracking and all of that. As far as having a permanent ASL rotor and all that stuff for satellite tracking, unless we have someone who's really interested in setting up a satellite station for other use other than ISS, I don't know that I'd put that in the initial plan, only because we don't have anybody who, other than Ken, Owen, and Callie Marquez, who do that I don't even think they do it on a routine basis, but they're able to set up a station for ARIS contacts, and they've done so for, I think, 4 or 5 of them in Santa Barbara County. So I think I love the idea of using it for that. And it's a perfect public space to bring people in and have some of that. But as far as the investment from us, I think there's not much that we would need to buy right now, because when they set up a station, they bring in all of the equipment to do it.
Well, my question is basically, if we know when the ISS is going to be overhead, we can plan ahead. And if the astronauts can communicate or be on the radio during that flyover, then we could have some kind of a pre-advanced notice, and that could develop a bit of revenue. I don't know.
They don't typically communicate unless they have a scheduled contact through the ARIS program. In fact, when I say typically, they never communicate with anyone. There was one ham 5 or 6 years ago who kind of would do it occasionally and surprise people, but it's really rare because their schedules are so tight. I'm on the education committee at ARIS US, and we review the applications, and a lot of hams want to do that, and they listen and they monitor, and it's so rare to hear someone, because their schedules are packed to the minute. Like here's 2 hours to sleep, and then you're up and you're doing this and this and this. So when ARIS gets a contact for a school, they get a window and they get their 7 or 9 minutes or whatever it is. And then the astronaut puts the mic down and then goes over to the tomato seed experiment and the, gene expression experiment. And they're just on to the next thing. They're not kind of playing radio like we might imagine we would do if we went to the station. So
yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions about the project?
Question from Stephen?
From Stephen. Go ahead, Stephen.
No, I had 2 quick questions. First of all, this is great, Levi. Thank you in advance. I didn't see in the list of equipment any 2-meter gear. And of course, that's our most, that's what our relay stations run. That's how we communicate mostly. And the second thing is, I think in terms of having something that people can play with to generate excitement when nobody's there, having something that could just scan DMR channels, because what you want is for people to make people think there's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
And if you had something where they could quickly just scan through 10 different, DMR nets where there's a lot of traffic, and there are people saying, I'm in Albuquerque, and I'm in Omaha, and I'm in West Virginia. It would seem like something, and again, it's a pretty simple Raspberry Pi program to have a button saying next, 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 just scanning those nets, because there are a lot of people on there just checking in and chewing the bacon.
Yeah, I'm adding your suggestion for a DMR radio in there. This radio here, the on line 11 FTM 400, is a VHF UHF, so it'll do 2 meters and 440, and it will do system fusion, so you'll be able to hear the SBARC talk group on that. But having a DMR radio that goes to other talk groups is probably a really good idea, because there's tons of traffic on that. So thanks for that suggestion. And that's not expensive either. So
Levi,
yes.
if you need one of those big screen sets, I've got one sitting over here.
Oh, good to know. Okay, well, they're donating to us a 55-inch monitor, but if we need another one, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Got a question, Levi.
Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
Would it make sense to have a monitor that's displaying that camera out at the island, since that's kind of what this place is about?
Yeah, what they want to do is when we're not there and no one's interacting with it, it'll have the AIS, which is the vessel tracking, and the camera. So they're going to want to have both of those things up. And then when someone comes and interacts with it, they can, run the program, or they can play radios. But then after a timer runs out, let's say after 5 minutes of no interaction, it'll go back up so that you see the camera and the AIS. And then to the left of our station, so if you're looking here, let me bring up my screen again one more time. Yeah, so to the left over on this side, there'll actually be a wall of I think it's 6 or 8 monitors that are different live cameras from the California islands all up and down the coast. And I'm not sure if ours is going to be there or it's going to be on our monitor, but yeah, the Diablo Peak camera will be on most of the time in this gallery.
The left and right walls actually glass, so people can look in.
Yes.
Oh, that's really cool.
Oh no, I'm sorry. There's no wall. It's that's a little bit of a misleading there. It's actually just fully open.
Oh,
so
it keeps people out then. If you have the plenty wall in the front.
Yeah, let me show you. Let me see if I have a way to bring up the. I think I have. Oh, I do have the floor plan. Okay, let me see if I can bring up this floor plan. Yeah, can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the main entrance over here. And then there's a 24-inch wide or deep counter that runs in an L shape here. And it transitions into that 45-degree angle pony wall here. And then back to here. So that protects us. So you'd need to walk past the reception. You need to walk underneath this flip-up counter into reception, past reception into here, or jump over the wall to get to our station from the other side.
What's on the left side?
This is the monitor wall here, and then there's either a velvet rope or the counter continues here. I'm not sure.
Oh, and the right side goes into reception, so they can't get in.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's
So they
just
can't get it. I think this is going to be a solid wall, or not a pony wall, on this side as well. So it's open, it's inviting, but it's not. It's restrictive of, it'd be like jumping behind the wall and going after the stuffed bear at the Natural History Museum.
So this is co-located with the receptionist.
Yeah, well, we shared this. It's a 20-foot wide wall. She has 8 feet, and then there's a separation, and we have 12 feet.
Oh, huh. Okay. The other thing I was going to say is I wonder if it would make sense to get a VHF UHF radio that had some kind of cat control, so that you could also control that radio from the patrons could control that one as well. I know that that's not very popular on the small radios. It might require like an all band or something like that, but it might be nice to give them that ability to control that one as well, since that's where a lot of our activity is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we could.
I have a epiphany. Levi, can you add the weather station channels into that option as far as them to select the 8 channels that are available for weather reports?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I mean, we'll just have a bunch of memory channels in the radios,
Yeah.
and then the program will be able to select those. So, yeah, Ken, I think maybe it makes sense to get like an FT991 that does all modes, all bands as a second radio, and that way we would have full cat control and remote control over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know you can control. Well, you can tap into the microphone on a lot of the Yaesus, and we could run the channel up, channel down thing.
Oh, yeah, that's an
We could
interesting
do that,
idea.
but we'll have to think about how that works.
Huh.
But yeah, definitely that's something to consider.
Who was the one that was doing ham radio on the ISS? Was that the lady? I forgot her name. Doggone it. It's escaping me now. I was just curious who it was actually taking spare time out to transmit from.
Yeah, there was a woman that. So, I mean, usually every expedition they have someone who does who's scheduled to do the ARIS contacts. It's rare that they have nobody up there who's a ham who's willing to do it. But there was like 3 or 4 years ago, I think a woman who was on an expedition, and she was a ham outside of being an astronaut. Most of the astronauts become hams because they find out about ARIS and they want to participate in it, and they're there for that purpose and that purpose only. They don't own a radio at home in Houston. But this woman was a ham outside of her work as an astronaut, and she liked it and she was just interested in it. And so she was making contacts, and she gave everybody all this hope that this was going to continue. But she was like one of 2 people in 30 years of this program that actually made random contacts with hams.
Right. Okay. I seem to remember that. I didn't know it was that long ago, but okay.
Yeah, it was a few years ago. Maybe it wasn't 5. I don't know. It was whenever you bought your building.
Well, that was 6 apparently.
Yeah. Any other questions about it? No. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Levi.
Yeah, no problem.
This is Levi and I are going to go down on Monday and look at some of the stuff we're going to have to do, and so it's a kind of a neat project. They're putting conduits in the walls for us for antenna lead wires coming in from the roof, and it's going to be a very clean, nice, modern looking installation, brand new. Dorothy, do you got your hand up?
Yeah. Well, when you're ready, do you want to talk about the ARRL article?
Oh, yeah.
Just when you're ready.
Oh, we can't forget about that.
No.
Page 50. Yeah, 51. So if you have this month's, is it May? What are they calling this? May 2021 QST. If you flip to page 51 on the bottom, you'll see our own W1 UUQ receiving his plaque dedicating the Talanian Communications facility on the Mesa. And they have a quick write-up about it that says Bill Talanian, W1 UUQ, who was honored to have the Santa Barbara, they said Radio Club, Amateur Radio Club, SBARC, Primary Communications Facility, K6TZ, dedicated to him. The dedication recognized Talanian's efforts as club trustee for over 40 years, during which he forged partnerships with government agencies and helped obtain funding to build the facility. SBARC operates 6 linked communication sites throughout Santa Barbara County, California, each providing analog and digital amateur capabilities while gathering data for educators, researchers, and public safety groups from sensors, receivers, and webcams.
And that plaque is permanently affixed to the front door of the of the communications room, or what do we call it? Building 501. There's not
this month.
There's not 500 other ones, but that's what it's called. So it's right there. You can't miss it. If you come in, if you ever visit there and go up the steps, you'll see Bill's plaque, and hopefully it'll outlast all of us. That thing's really a nice, it's a monument class plaque, that you'd see in a botanical garden or something. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Can I say something?
Well, all right.
Thanks a lot. Last couple of weeks, 3 weeks or so, Bill has gone up to Santina's Peak, and we've done a lot of projects up there for the repeaters and AIS and the search and rescue, and also WB6OBB's repeater. Les came up with me last time, and Bill is such an instrumental person to this whole club, because he has all the old times tools, and he's so funny because he's losing some of his eyesight and he's losing some of his memory sometimes because he's just a little distracted. But last time we went up, Les and I were going, well, we're going to install this AIS antenna, and he forgot the U-bolts for it, but we improvised, and I put them up with a zip line or zip ties. But Bill taught Les how to cut the cable and install a new fitting, because the old fitting was just old school. And he was telling us, this is old school stuff. We got to put in the new technology, the new stuff, and we got to do it right the first time. And this is how we do it, and this is the way we do it. And this was my second install on a new fitting on the antenna line, and it was Les's first time. Bill is instrumental to this program, and I really applaud him for everything he's done.
Bill is, he really knows what he's doing, and anybody that gets an opportunity to learn from him is lucky. And just when he talks about things, listen, don't argue with him, because he knows how to put things together that last, including himself. He keeps going like the ever-ready bunny, I'm telling you. Okay, kind of in that vein, I was going to show you guys some of the stuff that if anybody that uses the 14518 repeater knows that we've been having some issues with that repeater cutting out when people are calling in from when they're transmitting through that repeater into the network. We have some issues. We think we have a good idea what the problem is. How to fix it is another matter. But as all of these things get built out, as we added things to the island, repeaters out there, and as we are working towards taking some of the load off Bill's shoulders, we have a lot of equipment to maintain, and our computer stuff is getting sophisticated. Our remote equipment is getting very sophisticated. Almost everything that we have is now remotely accessible. So a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of adjustments can be done or will be able to be done from ground level, so to speak, from Santa Barbara, even out on the island. So one of the problems that we had is that things were initially several years ago, things kind of got added a little bit here, a little bit there, and we did it with what resources we had available. For a long time, the club didn't even have any internet. We had a Wi-Fi connection to the Red Cross Wi-Fi. And that's if they left it on. If they shut it off or something, we had no internet in the club station at all. And then Ken, Impulse Communications, through Ken,
was kind enough to donate us internet connectivity down to the club station. We still didn't have any reliable internet up to the Mesa. So Ken also showed up one day with a couple of Ubiquity dishes, and we provided internet over microwave to the what we call now the Tulanian Communications Facility, the TCF up at La Vigia on the Mesa, and added a whole bunch of equipment there, so we could from there we can in turn communicate with Santa Cruz Island and San Ynez Peak. So it's quite complicated because San Ynez Island or San Ynez Peak and Santa Cruz Island don't have any internet at all. They get internet through microwave dishes that are installed on the Mesa. The Mesa doesn't have any internet, so it gets it from the club station over a microwave antenna. And so we have a lot of things to maintain, and we're trying hard to make this so that it works really well. So I wanted to show you one of the problems that we had over the past few years is that everything was really cumbersome to get to. If we were in Santa Barbara and we wanted to adjust the camera out on the island, well, it was kind of a roundabout way of doing it. There was a lot of settings that had to be done in routers and different networks that had to be transversed. And so to make that navigable, I'll show you one of the things that we did here. We set up a, let me see, don't I have this here? Just a second. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen here. Okay. This is, we set this up for those of us that work on this system so that we can have sort of like a control panel, so we can get to places that we want to go on the network and work on the things that we want to work on. So for example, one of the things that we've put in recently is we're putting in data loggers. We have one up at the Tulanian Communications Facility, and I'll show you what it does. This is really cool. We had, I don't know, guys, I don't know how many of you remember, we had the generator battery go down and we had a power outage and nobody knew that the power was off there. And we have these monitors that, this monitors our generator current and how much electricity the site is using. Tells us what our battery voltages are, what the internal temperature is, how much current the system's drawing. And it's kind of neat because you can see when you key up the repeater, you'll immediately see the current go up to 30 amps or so. And so this has been a good test. We put this first one up at the Mesa. There's a whole bunch more we can do with this for graphing and logging to try and it also alerts us if the power gets too low. So we're going to be adding another one at Diablo Peak and up at San Ynez Peak. And then some of the other things we can do, those will be there. We can monitor all the devices on our network. What, Ken?
Sorry. I saw Nagios. We've been using that at Impulse for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And I blurted it.
So we can monitor all the different devices on our network, and all of these things are pretty much, they're scattered all over different places, and we can monitor and we can see what the response times are, make sure everything's operating correctly. And if something goes down, it sends us an email, and then we can go look at it and take care of it and fix it. And most of the time we can do it without even getting out of your pajamas. So it makes it, this lets us do a whole bunch of things. So if we want to look, we can look at the, go back and do some investigation and see, wait, no, that's not what I wanted. Let me go back. You can go back and do, you can look at various events like alerts that were generated from this particular connection. Like, down here we had it was unreachable for about 5 minutes. So this particular device, this is the ADSL box up at St. Ines Peak. So it really helps us a lot to make sure we can keep things up and running without things going down for weeks at a time or days at a time. And so that's for the computer stuff. And then we have probably a lot of you have watched the camera out on the island on YouTube or something, or on the website. But we have a secret way in there that we can get in there if we want to steer the camera, if we want to zoom in or out, or if we want to change the direction or sometimes we'll watch the windsock out there, or Wayne's vane, as we call it, which is a vane that Wayne built so that the aviation people can keep an eye on, get kind of an idea of the wind speed. It's pretty cool. So that's how we get in to do those. Now all of these repeaters are linked on over All-Star. So we use All-Star to link the repeater from St. Ines Peak down to the Mesa, and also from the two new repeaters out on Santa Cruz Island. So we can log into that device and we can see what's going on. This will tell us if, well, something's coming in on Diablo right there. And it tells us what repeater is being used at any given time, and gives us an idea if we've got any problems. So it makes it very easy to diagnose and troubleshoot things from home. I don't know how, all of you that have DMR radios, you know that what this is. It's, if you've ever seen, this is the control that manages the DMR radio up at the Mesa. And we can see who's been out. Larry, you were just on there a little while ago. There's WA6MVJ. So
yeah, I was testing my DMR.
Yeah, that was this morning at 11:25.
Oh, you can't do anything without being tracked these days.
So, and then we've got places where we have data stored. So we have the AIS thing. We store all the data on all the ship stuff going back about 3 or 4 years now. And we make this stuff available for, for research people so that they can go back, if they want to go back in 2017 on May 1st and see what ships are in the channel. There you go. It's all right there. One of these, we have the last transmission that the Conception made off of Santa Cruz Island before it burned up and sank. But we keep all that stuff, and it's available for the universities and places that we work with, so that they can do research. We also, every 5 minutes, we take a snapshot of what the camera's looking at out on the island. So we've got archives going back now 3 years since a new camera was put up. So at any date and time, you can go out and take a look and see, except at night. I have it, I wrote a program that figures out when sunrise and sunset is, and it shuts it off an hour after sunset and turns it on an hour before sunrise. So yeah, Mike.
Can you explain, is this the reason why Echolink is affected, because of all the data transfer through the internet via Echolink and All-Star?
Let me finish what we're doing here.
For the benefit of the two people that use it consistently. So
another thing that we have is we have the AIS that we have. We use AIS radios that are connected with RS-232 serial connections to a little device, and of course we got to get it to over to the network. So we have these little boxes that last time I needed to make a change, it took me a month to figure out how to get there. Now I just click on a button and I can log into these little devices and make changes to them if I need to. So that, anyway, this is, by the time we're all done with this, oh, by the way, and the other thing is I don't know if any of you guys listen to the nets over the, over our live streaming, but we, last couple weeks ago, we had a problem with Broadcastify that was carrying the stream before. And in a couple hours, we moved it. We now have our own streaming server. So that just lets us, we can see we're streaming there from full time, all the time. We're from our own server. So we're not at anybody's mercy for streaming services, and doesn't cost us a nickel. Anyway, so that's that. I just kind of wanted to give you some idea of what, let's see. All right, let me go back there. So little by little, we're trying to make this easy to maintain and try and make the reliability better. Briefly, I can explain the problem with the Echolink. The Echolink is not very well behaved over a network like this. We have limited bandwidth because everything is going microwave. And, you know, the microwave connection between the club station where the actual, you know, wire connection to the internet is, and the Mesa, there's a lot of data going over that. We have AIS, we have ADSB, we've got just we got the camera on the Mesa. All of this stuff is going through that one microwave connection between those two locations. So the Echolink is a problem. And the reason it's a problem is because it opens up a stream for every person listening. So that means that everything, a stream takes, you know, depending upon the amount of traffic going on, but the stream has a certain amount of overhead, even if there's no talking going on. So if people had it on and they were just listening to Echolink during the day and whatever, you know, they're consuming some of that bandwidth the whole time. It makes it very difficult for for us to keep things maintained when we can't control the bandwidth on Echolink. We don't have any way, at least that we found, to reasonably restrict the number of users or the amount of bandwidth it uses. So we were having other issues with slowdowns and data not being reported and packets dropped, and when we turned off Echolink, the majority of those went away. Now there's still a problem between San Ynez and the Mesa, and we're working on that. We think that what it is that we're picking up some interference on the band from some outside source, and we may be hearing it from the Mesa side. That's what makes the most sense right now, is that the big microwave dish up there is picking up some interference on our channel, and that's causing the packets to drop. Yeah, Mike.
For Jerry and Cindy in Oregon, look at my chat notes.
Now, we've told a couple people that do this that they might want to look into All-Star. All-Star is much better behaved. It's being maintained, for one thing. Echolink, I don't think it's been updated in 10 or 15 years, at least not the underlying protocol for it. And it's just a bandwidth hog, and it's okay if you've got a broadband connection, and you know, then that's not a big deal. But when, you know, on a good day, the best we can count on is 54 megabits per second between Lavaggia and the Red Cross. What's more typical is about 25 to 30 on a sunny day with but we're just skimming the treetops with that, and you know, there are times when the bandwidth drops down. So, having additional bandwidth on there for Echolink has just been causing all kinds of other problems. So if we can encourage, All-Star doesn't have that problem. It uses the same basic transport mechanism to get the data around, but it doesn't open up a stream and leave it open the whole time. It signals, it does a keep alive, which uses very little bandwidth. It's very, very well behaved, and we've experienced absolutely no issues, no matter how many All-Star connections are on. So it may be something, if you really want to listen to the TZ repeater or use a TZ repeater from a remote location, that may be something people want to look into. I personally have used it used the Echolink a couple of times. I don't depend on it. But it does come in handy if you're traveling or if you're away from a radio and something happens and you want to see it. And what is that? Somebody got themselves a new dish there, KG6WC. It looks like a MikroTik. Is that what it was, Eric?
Oh yeah, Roger. Got a couple of new MikroTik 5 gigahertz light head grid.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Dishes
We might be
there.
able to increase the
So-
bandwidth up there, but we're going to have to replace the dishes at the Mesa and at the Red Cross. So
These suckers were $70
yeah,
a piece. It's got the dish built into it. The radio's up in the front there, that little funny star thing. And I've had one up in the air for like 2-3 years now. Thing's fine.
but especially Bill and Wayne. Wayne is working. He works almost full time for the club. I mean, it's almost every day he's going up the hill. Same with Jim Everson is always working on radios and we're not even touching all the stuff that we're doing with other repeaters, with the Tri-County repeater system, with the commercial system that we have. So it's a lot of work for very few people, and we're doing our best to modernize it and make it streamlined and make everything work with the money that we have and the parameters we have to work with. Anytime you're working on a mountaintop with some of this stuff, it's tricky. There's a lot of things to juggle. So anyway, but we're making progress on it. And you guys never see this stuff, so I want to kind of show you some of the things that that keep us busy. So any questions about any of that before we kind of, if you get QST magazine last month, they had on the front page, we're entering solar cycle 25. And so I watched a bunch of videos. I got about I think it's 18-20 minutes or something that's going to explain for a lot of the people that have never lived through or never been a ham during a solar cycle. Yeah, everything's different on HF. It's going to be lots of fun. And so I found a pretty decent video that's going to kind of explain from a newbie perspective, or even an old hat ham that has not been through a full solar cycle, what to expect and what you can do. Even technicians can get in on it during the middle of or during portions of the solar cycle on the HF bands that are open to technicians. So, but before we do that, anybody have any other questions about the stuff that I showed you? None? Okay. So I'm going to start this video. This guy was fairly easy because some of the ham videos are not so good. This guy was pretty easy to listen to, and he explains it pretty clearly. So we'll start that, and that ought to take about 20 minutes or so, and then we'll have a time for a little bit more before we close out for the day. So let me find it here. Okay. All right, here we go.
Hello, YouTubers and fellow hams, new hams.
Oh, wait a minute.
Well, this is a new hams tip video, and this one comes from a suggestion by Alan Covey over on the Facebook page, and he was asking, how about
okay,
a video discussion for us newly minted HF guys who have never been through an upswing of a solar cycle? That's a good question. And I think that's a good subject. And it's a relevant subject because we are right at the beginning of activity for the new solar cycle. In fact, just in the past couple of weeks, the sun has really started to kick up some activity. Sunspot numbers went way up. Solar flux went way up. We're going to start having some mass ejections and solar storms. It's going to get very active, and it's going to make HF conditions vary quite a bit up and down. It's going to be really interesting. So, Alan, this is a good question, and I think a good topic for me to cover for new hams. I think I'll start by showing you the resource that I visit every morning, and usually a couple of times throughout the day if I'm curious, where I look at what the sun is up to, and I'll show you the information that I look at and what I expect to see and happen with that information. Now, let me preface this by saying I'm no expert. I know just enough about ionospheric propagation to be dangerous. What I can draw upon is my experience. I've lived and been a ham through 2 solar cycles, and this one will be my 3rd. On my own personal experience and understand.
Is it glitching on your end, Brian?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It's making the video stop.
Weather dashboard. Before we look at my resource about it, we should first just do a quick overview.
You want to? No, it's
Pause
working.
it or something for a minute there.
Up here in the ionosphere, which is an upper layer of the atmosphere that is susceptible to being charged by solar activity. And this represents the ionosphere up here. This is what is responsible for skip or propagation. And as you can see from the graph, what we have here is signals coming from our transmitter go up, and if they're at a low enough angle, they will bounce off the ionosphere. If the ionosphere is properly charged, bouncing back down to Earth. And that allows us to cover more distance via that skip than we would cover if it was just line of sight, which line of sight, our signal would go straight off into space or off and bounce further down, but would never reach the station. It would go over his head. So that's what propagation is. This charged layer of the upper atmosphere acts a little bit like a mirror for radio signals and bounces them back down. Now, there are multiple layers to the ionosphere, as we can see here. There's several actually, but the ones that we're most interested in are the F, E, and D layers. The D layer, being the lowest one, is kind of important, and we'll talk about that later when we get to the space weather page. It's more active at night when the sun's not active. When the sun's not charging things up, it tends to bounce lower frequency signals. That's why you hear AM broadcast stations and 80 meters opens up at night. That's from the D layer. During the day, when the sun's active, the D layer is much less of an influence. Signals will tend to pass right through it. The E layer, you might have heard the term sporadic E, talking about 6 meters. VHF frequencies in around 50 megahertz for 6 meters tend to bounce off of this layer. The F layer is most important for the upper frequency bands, 20 meters, 15 meters, 10 meters, and so on. But this D layer is the lowest layer, and that's kind of important because if it is absorbing rather than bouncing signals, this happens. If this was a transmitted signal over here, you can see how it just sort of faded off in the D layer. That's called D layer absorption. And under certain solar conditions, that becomes a factor. And certain frequencies will never get up here to the upper layers to bounce. They'll be absorbed in the D layer, and propagation is hampered. So those are some important points to remember. Okay, let's go to my favorite resource. This is the National Oceanic an atmospheric administration's space weather prediction center page. It's a web page that gives you all kinds of information on what the sun is currently doing. And I will put this link in the description of the video below, so you can go to it and bookmark it if you're interested in going back to it. Now, the bits of information that I am most interested in on this page are the solar wind, which is indicated right here at the top, and the solar radio flux, which is 2.8 gigahertz RF coming from the sun. And that frequency does some interesting things with the ionosphere. Well, I guess it's not that frequency, but that number, this data, tracks with extreme ultraviolet, which affects the ionosphere and charges it up and causes propagation to happen. And then the other thing that I like to look at is this solar X-ray flux graph here, which shows us this flux over time, and you can see the peaks that are occurring and what the overall level is and whether we're hitting flare levels up here. Okay, so let's talk about this stuff. What are we looking at here? Solar wind speed over here. This is a stream of charged particles coming from the sun. It's a fairly constant stream, and during certain times with coronal mass ejections or burps of energy around sunspots, this can increase dramatically. Now we'll look at another graphic here. The solar wind pushes against the Earth's magnetic field, deforming it and then flowing around on the magnetic field lines. The Earth's magnetic field acts like a shield for us and protects us from the solar wind, which is a good thing because the radiation and other energy in that could be devastating to life on Earth. So without our magnetic field, we wouldn't be here. And high solar wind will buffet the magnetic field and deform it and wobble it and move it around. And we call that a geomagnetic storm. And that affects radio propagation. It can affect it rather dramatically. Remember the D layer? If we go back over here, remember the D layer being lower in the ionosphere? Well, during periods of high solar wind, that D layer will begin to absorb rather than reflect signals. And if we go back here to the space weather page and we scroll down, there's all kinds of information, but down here near the bottom, we see this D layer absorption prediction graph. And this graphic, it will show us if there is D-layer absorption going on. And through this frequency range here in the colors, you can tell what frequencies are being attenuated or absorbed by the D-layer. So this graphic, and I'll show you a picture here of this graphic during a more active time, and you can really see the colors and see where signals up to certain frequencies are being absorbed by that D-layer. So that's some important information to have. If there's a lot of color on this graph, and like if you saw a big area of green over the country that you're in, you come down here and you could see that that color would mean that frequencies up to 24, 23 megahertz are being absorbed rather than getting through to the upper layers and bouncing back. So this D-layer absorption prediction graphic is really useful on this page. And that is tied to the solar wind here. Right now, this is a fairly high level. This can be down in the 300s. It can get way up into the 600s, 700s during storms, and then we'll have geomagnetic storms, and that will affect propagation because of that D-layer absorption and the magnetic field being fluctuated. Okay, the other thing that I said I like to look at here is the solar radial flux. This number correlates to other components of solar radiation like extreme ultraviolet. And according to research and information on NOAA, the extreme ultraviolet emissions strongly affect the ionosphere. And this number, you want it to be high. For about 3 years now during the solar minimum, this was in the 70s or below. And we did not have a lot of propagation on higher frequency bands. The higher this number gets, the more charged up those upper layers of the ionosphere are going to get. And let's go back over to our graph. So the higher that solar flux is, the more active these upper layers are going to get, the more reflective they're going to get, and the more propagation you're going to get. There's all kinds of technical reasons for it. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm just sharing my observations over time and watching this data while I work with Radial. So not too long ago, just a few days ago, this was around 110, which was fantastic. It was quite high. There were a lot of sunspots, and this number went up, and sure enough, there was a lot of openings. 15 meters was open almost every day, and 10 meters was opening up. In fact, here's a clip. I made a FM contact all the way across the country over in the southern states on 10 meters using only 10 watts. Here, it's going to be in the 70s and sunny most of the time. Pretty windy today, but temperature's coming up. I think we're going to hit about 75 today, over. Roger, on the 75. Yeah, you dropped that over there for a bit. You come back up a little bit on that transmission. You know what? Well, that just shows you what kind of band conditions are existing right now. It's great to see it opening up. Finally, some spots like the 25 again. Even though the sun's coming down, boy, we're still getting some effects of it up here, which is pretty awesome. And 73 T7, the name here is JP. By the way, Julia Bravo is what I go by. And we'll say God bless and have a great night. All right, KJ4JE, you have a good day too, JB, and 73 from KB9RLW, Southwest Arizona. Kentucky. So, you know, the daytime, the sun really does make a difference. More information on this page we can look at here. This is a prediction of what they expect to be happening as far as the solar wind and the potential for magnetic storms in the coming two days. It's sometimes pretty accurate, sometimes not so much. Yesterday, it was predicting a G3 storm, which never happened. If we go and we look over here, the last few days, we should have had a big storm. This was predicting a G3 storm in through here. And, well, we got a little activity right here, but we didn't really see G3. So oftentimes this is accurate, sometimes not, but it gives you an idea about what's coming. And this graph here shows over time geomagnetic activity, which is related to solar wind. And of course, solar X-ray flux, which is related to this number up here, this radial flux. So that's what these three graphs are for. It's looking back and sort of seeing the trend. And you also see current data. I forget how often this is updated. I think they tell you. No, they don't tell you. Nope, they don't tell you. It's updated 2 or 3 times a day, I think, or maybe a little more often. But anyway, that's historical. Scrolling down, we have satellite imagery. We can look at the ultraviolet output of the sun, and this is Earth from the Earth's point of view. And you can hit this play button, and it will show you an animation of the last few days of activity. Visible light here, this is the visible solar disk. Right now, we don't see any sunspots. Well, there's one. There's one right there, just a little bitty one. You can just see it. That's rotating out of view. The sun is rotating in this direction on this graphic. So if you see something over here like sunspots, they're rotating into our visible disk and will be aiming towards us soon. And of course, if anything is out here in the central region, then it's casting energy towards the Earth. So that can be helpful, just glancing at this to see what's going on. Okay, this is the corona view from a satellite that has a little disk here that blocks out the sun itself. And that way you can just see the corona. And we can see energy being cast off from sunspots here, little solar flares going on. And well, these are the regions. This is that little sunspot we saw over here. This is something that's around the back side of the disk yet that hasn't rotated in our direction. So there's something active back there that might give us some activity coming up. So that's how you can use these to sort of see, what the sun's actually looking like and what's coming. And we scroll down. This again, prediction graph. This is kind of based on some of that data that we saw up above. And sometimes it's accurate, sometimes not so much. You can just see right here the remains of that predicted G3 storm that we didn't have. We didn't even get up to G1. So they were expecting it to be much stronger than it was. So again, sometimes it's accurate. It gives you an idea of the trends and what's happening. Let's go down further. Aurora Forecast over here is neat. This green area shows you where auroral activity is going on. And so you can see how far south the auroras are. When you have big geomagnetic storms, a lot of solar wind, you'll see increased auroral activity. And so the stronger that solar wind gets, you'll see this move further down, maybe even getting into the northern United States if we have a severe storm of G3 or G4 levels. These graphs here are again more trends from the geo satellites. Mirrors some of the information in that upper graph, so I don't pay too much attention to that. And then here, of course, is that D region absorption graphic that I really like to look at just to see, if we're in a solar storm and there's color, you can tell, I'm not going to be able to do too much below that frequency because it's going to get absorbed by the D layer. It'll be stuck with ground propagation. And then finally down here at the bottom, the solar cycle graphs. These are showing over years the activity. And you can see here sunspot numbers. This was the dead period that we're just coming out of. And this was the peak of activity just a few days ago where solar flux got up over 110. And we really saw a bunch of openings on 10 meters and 15 meters. Further down here, the solar radial flux again. And this is going to pretty much mirror the sunspot numbers. You can see a correlation between these peaks here and here. See the peaks? So you can pick and choose which of these graphs you want to look at. They're pretty much going to give you the same kind of information as far as what's going on. But as you can see, we are right at the beginning of the upward trend of the new cycle. It's just starting to happen. So you'll want to watch this. As these flux numbers get up over 100, maybe even up over 125, I mean, they can get way up there. Look at this, almost 175 during the last peak. That was an interesting time. You could get on 10 meters just about any time of the day or night and work DX once those numbers got that high. So very useful information on this page. And as I said, I will put a link in the description down below. So that's basically how you can kind of keep an eye on what's going on and what you can expect to happen. Now, the other part of Alan's question was, should I be worried about my antennas, my radios with solar storms? And the answer to that is, well, I don't know. It's hard to say. You would have to have a very severe solar storm. If we get a massive injection, a massive storm, and that G level is up to G5, that amount of activity in the magnetic field, I mean, the magnetic field will be fluctuating, being pushed around by the solar wind, it'll be fluctuating. And a moving magnetic field across a wire induces current. If that solar storm gets up to those levels, yeah, it could induce currents on your antennas, high voltages and currents, and possibly damage your radios. So you should be worried about it if we get up to those storm levels. There is an event historically, a massive, massive solar flare. I think it's called the Carrington Event. It was a very, very substantial solar storm. And what was interesting about that one was we had the telegraph at the time. There were telegraph lines across the countries and across, and being used to communicate. And there was so much current being induced on those telegraph wires that the telegraph operators actually disconnected their batteries from the wires. There was enough current on the wire that they could still close their key and close the contactors at the other end of the wire just with the current that was on there. Some of them got shocks too. So yeah, a massive solar storm can induce high currents and voltages onto the wires of your antenna and possibly damage your radio. So you should worry about it when when you see that we're going to have a solar storm with G4, G5, or an X-class solar flare. If you're not going to be using your radio, maybe it is a good idea to unhook your antennas or ground them, just to be safe. So there you go. If you're a new ham, I hope that you found some of that information useful. And I say welcome to the hobby, and you're really going to enjoy this solar cycle, as I'm sure most of the rest of us are as well. It's really starting to kick off, and we've got 4, 5, 6 years of good solar activity coming. So buckle up, get your radios out, get your antennas shined up, and hit the air. We'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're not already a subscriber, click to subscribe. Join us on the Facebook channel for discussion about the videos. And if you'd like to help support this channel, please click to support me on my Patreon page.
Fire Mountain Gems and Beads.
Okay, I think we're back here. Well, wait a minute. Let me turn there we go. Okay, let me see. Now I can admit people. I was having problems there. The Zoom was getting confused. And it caused the video to hang up there when I tried to admit people. Mike, go ahead.
Okay, this is very interesting because he mentioned the GHOST satellites. Behind me in this photo is myself to the left and a friend of mine and Don and my supervisor. And behind me is a deployable solar array. Those operated GHOST satellites. We built 12 ship sets. That's 3 times 12. So 12 ship sets. NASA got those satellites and they actually deployed those to map global warming and all the other things that this person had stipulated. I was part of an engineering group that assembled these solar arrays. I'm very fortunate to work for this company, ATK Space Systems in Goleta, back in 2007 through 2014, including the Orion project. It's the most rewarding project I've ever done. This is a fascinating program, fascinating system that does for the solar events that you had just heard about. There you go.
Okay. Let me
Thank you. Interesting.
Okay, let's see. I muted everybody. If you want to say something, unmute yourself, but that's easier than trying to find the noisy things. There's some noise coming in here.
Brian, was I muted?
I muted everybody.
Oh,
did
you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. I was hearing several things in there, and I was trying to get it back to quiet.
Well, did you hear what I said? I mean,
no, we heard that. I muted it after that.
All right, good.
Okay. The 6, 7 years ago, when I first got into amateur radio or doing HF stuff anyway, I was really disappointed because I bought a real nice Flex radio, and for about the first 3 months, the solar flux was over 100 almost every day, and I could sit down at different times of the day and rack up contacts in Europe and all over the place, and I think I got all 50 states pretty quickly, and then everything started going bad. That's the reason you saw his graph. It just went downhill into the trough, and it's been dead for a couple of years now. And matter of fact, we down at the shack, we used to down at the club station, we would have Saturday mornings, we set up another digital SDR radio down there, and we'd have all kinds of activity on 20 meters and 15 meters and 17 meters, and it'd just be really hopping down there, and it was a lot of fun. And then all we've seen for the last 2 or 3 years is noise, so it's going to start picking up. You got a good 5 years now of improving conditions, and we'll be back in business, which will be, it'll be nice to do it before I get too old to want to do it. So if you're thinking about getting HF and you're not too excited about it, this is the time to start getting excited about it, because it is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to try and get some of the awards and do contesting. We've done a couple of field days where we've had really poor. Didn't we have one that was like we got 20 contacts or something like that?
You're on mute, Ken.
Oh, unmute yourself.
I do that. Okay. Yeah, that was probably 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We took the van up to the above Ealing's Park and put the antenna up, put all this work in, and there's just nothing going on, nothing at all. And we had guys in the van working the bands for hours, and I think we got 20 contacts, and it should have been what would be a good day, Ken? Something like 400 or 500 contacts
Easily. Yeah.
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 So this will be fun. It'll be I'm looking forward to it. I don't think I've turned on my HF radio now except more than 3 or 4 times in the last year. So I'm going to look forward to it. But and we might have some events down at the club station, or get the van out again and start taking it places. And so it'll if you're wondering if you should get an HF radio and get involved in it, and you don't need a big antenna. I've done all my stuff with just a wire antenna. You can't even see it. It just goes from one tree to the other tree, and that's it. And it's inexpensive, and it's easy to do. I had a limb fall, or a big palm frond fall on it and break it, and it took me like 10 minutes, and I just spliced it back together, and that was it. So anyway, so I thought that guy's video was reasonably good. He didn't go off like a lot of them do, so it was very informative, and sort of brought back what the stuff that we learned when we were taking our technician and general licenses.
I like
right,
that graph.
Huh?
I like that graph that just showed the trend, because there's a lot of data and you can really geek out with solar weather, but that graph kind of pretty much sets the tone for what, obviously on one of those days down in the doldrums, you can get some kind of magical propagation and things will open up, but it really it helps you situate yourself in the solar cycle and see when there are anomalies and days where you might actually be able to make contacts. But I mean, obviously going into the future, if the trend actually follows the prediction, then you can probably stick a wire out your window and start making contacts on 10 and 17 and 15.
Quick question.
Matter of fact, some of the I think one of the first club meetings I ever came to, there was a guy that had a little, one of those little mini, what are they, K3s or something? And he said all he did, it was a QRP HF rig, Elecraft, and he said he just threw a wire out over out the window or something and was making contacts all over the place with 5 watts. And you heard that guy, he was making an FM contact with, what do you say, 10 watts from Arizona to Kentucky.
Wow.
So, and it sounded good, sounded better than our repeaters sometimes.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stephen here, W6STP. I'm trying to remember high school physics from the 1970s, and it's an 11-year cycle, and we have no idea why. Is that right? Does anybody remember heliodynamics about why the sunspot cycles even happen?
I watched another video that was done by the National NOAA, and the scientist that was presenting it said they don't know why it has an 11-year cycle. I thought that's kind of weird. You'd think they'd know about it. Les, are you scratching or waving your hand?
No, I was waving. I've got some answers for you. First of all, if you'll go to YouTube and look up Dr. Tamitha Skov, you'll learn an enormous amount of information. And they actually do understand now why the average is 11 years. It's not exactly 11 years. Some years it's 9, sometimes it's 14. So the average ballpark is the 11-year mark. But it's because of the magnetic fields that are built up in the and stretching of those magnetic fields in the sun. Tamitha Skov is a specialist in the solar winds, and she goes into great amount of detail, and she'll tell us about a week ahead of time, because there are 2 pods that are out there that are sending information back to Earth. So we have east and west information, views of X-ray and UV and all sorts of different ways of looking at the sun. And so I'd recommend that you look at her up on YouTube, and you'll be that's how I usually end up getting on 10 meter and start talking 10. What I'll do is I'll listen to 11 meter, because those guys are always chattering out there, and that I'll start hearing some propagation on that, and I'll bounce over to 29.6 and start trying to make my contacts that way. But I know several days ahead of time that it's coming.
Okay, yeah, I've heard of her. I've watched a couple of her videos. It's been a while. All right. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
Just found my old logs. So we had 88 contacts in 2015, 500 contacts in 2018, and 600 contacts in 2019. But I have to say 2015 was the year we didn't take the van or create the second station. So you can't really compare. That was me and Theo and like 1 or 2 other people in the afternoon one day on a Saturday versus, doing the whole weekend, which was the 2018 and 2019.
What was the year? What did you have in like 18 and 19?
500 and 600 QSOs.
That's not bad for the depths of the solar minimum.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe when we go up that curve, we'll be at a couple of thousand or something, But, a lot of it depends on how many people show up and operate and how many stations you have. So it's,
There was a year that you weren't there, and Tom was there. We had the van parked up at the top. It wasn't the same place, I think, like when you had the Jodas station and all that, and
Oh, that was like 2017. Was that the year Hayden brought his van up?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was 16 or 17.
Yeah, but that
Yeah.
was, it was so discouraging. I don't even think we spent the night.
Right.
That was bad. That was awful. That
I remember
year.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
It was just, it was like 20 contacts or something. And then these guys were in the hot van and struggling and trying to get contacts, and it just wasn't working. So, yeah, it's, well,
Become
let's hope it's going to be a lot better. It's not very exciting to have a rotten day and plan for field day and then don't hear anybody.
Brian, Alfred in the chat room has and I'm wondering if that's Alfred, Alfred that we know, who is a club member who used to work with us.
KI6 BML.
Oh, hi, Alfred. Why don't you ask your question? Because I think it's a good follow-up.
Yeah, sure. So I was a little confused looking at the graphs, and we're talking about things are good or bad or whatever. So it kind of flip-flopped in my head. I was like, are we in a good period, but we're in the troughs, which sounds like a bad thing, and so forth. So is it a good time to start because things are going to get better, or because it's really good right now, or how does that all work?
We're just pulling out of the trough.
Basically.
So it's all up. It's all going to be looking better every day from here on out. I mean, basically. So this is a good time to get started. I think, you know, if you're thinking about setting up an HF station and want to put up an antenna, want to shop for a radio, all that. I mean, it's you're not going to be disappointed because it's just going to do nothing but get better.
So I think like maybe others can correct me if I'm wrong, but like when you hear about a solar flare or coronal mass ejection or CME, if that hits the Earth and the ionosphere, that can cause an HF radio blackout. So that's not a good thing for contesting and HF communications in general. For all you, but can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So but when there's more solar activity, you're more likely to get a CME, a solar flare. But so that's not good. You don't want a direct hit from a CME if you're hoping to use the HF bands. But when there's more sunspots and there's more solar activity, that means there's more ionization of the different layers that he was talking about in the video, and that's good for propagation. So you don't want a totally inactive sun like we have had for the past 4 or 5 years. You want a good amount of of sunspots and solar activity, but that occasional CME that wipes out HF communications for a few hours to a few days is sort of an undesirable consequence of an active sun.
I see. So you want activity, but you don't want like disruptions or big variances.
Yeah, you don't want a direct hit.
I see. Okay, that makes more sense.
The way I always thought of it was sunspots good, solar flares bad. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Eric, WXC, go ahead.
Yeah, that is all right there, what Levi was saying. What I was going to add was, you know, way back when I got my license, 15, 16 years ago now, God, I don't even remember when it was, 2004. We were in a pretty good part of the cycle then. And like I could just use my little handheld that I bought a handheld, and it was the tri-bander VX7. It was actually a quad bander, which I realized later, but I could do 6 meters on it. And I was talking to people in Wisconsin with like 5 watts on my little handheld, just wandering around on, in the Santa Monica Mountains. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so cool. And I was hooked. So it was just one of those cool things that I just happened to get in on a good time in the cycle. And it was awesome to be that. I miss it.
Yeah, there was
I hope it comes back.
QST had a story back then about a guy in a canoe, and that's what he had. He had some little handheld radio, and he'd paddle around his canoe and talk to people all over the country while he's paddling his canoe.
It could have been done.
It could have been.
1979, when the band was so good that 10 meters, which is full, I mean, crowded. And you have long path or short path, and you could work, South Africa, Europe, and all that, just full quieting, just like we're talking right now, or even better, with good audio and stuff. So, I made 260 contacts, different countries on PAN and confirmed. And just, you didn't need the power, although I had power if I wanted it, and a beam and stuff. But boy, it was just unbelievable how nice it is when 10 is crowded where you can't find a spot, but you can answer people, and mornings were just unbelievable. So if it comes back, it's a great time to really get into it, and it'll happen again. They've had little up and down, some spots, some years weren't as good as others, but if we could get something like it did in 79 and 80, that was unreal. WB6OBB.
Yeah, we deserve something if we can survive the last year and 3 or 4 months here of all this crap. We deserve a treat, and this is going to be it.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else have any comments or anything? Well, thank you everybody for coming, and we'll do it all again next month. If you're in the area, Club Station will be open tomorrow. Still not trying to get too big a crowd in there, but almost all the people that are coming there now have all been vaccinated, so we're keeping office hours anyway. So stop on by if you're cruising around. We'll be there. And
do we have
Brian?
to show our card, our shots?
Yeah, you got to
have our shots to get into the
Hey,
kennel.
I was just gonna suggest everybody wear a band that says vaccinated.
Yeah.
You're good to
Well,
go.
yeah, I'm thinking about it like the dog kennel. It's like you got to sign the paper and say, hey, I've had my shots. Look.
Sell the bands. They're $25 each.
we're gonna do this in ham style and put duct tape on our foreheads and say, I've been vaccinated.
There we go.
Wait, Brian, I just renewed for 5 years, so I need to get my new ID, okay? You need to get some IDs out.
Yeah.
Very interesting meeting.
I need my ID.
I just got to say, I'm W6STP here. I'm tired of you aging hippies talking about how the bands were better in the 70s.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Mine was not in the 70s.
Not that kind of band.
Well, the bands were great in the 50s too.
You bet.
10 meter AM.
There was a lot that were, yeah.
Hey, it's old school.
Aging jelly beans and aging hippies.
All right. Well, hope everybody has a good weekend. Everybody drive carefully. And we'll see you all next month, if not before.
Oh, hey, Brian, real quick before you shut her down.
Yeah.
Maybe this is really for Levi. How do you get a static picture up there when you walk away? What do you do to get that to show up? So you're like, if you walk away from the screen, Levi, you've put on a static picture of yourself.
I just hit stop video, and then on well, let's see.
I think you got to have like a Zoom account.
Oh, you know what? You have to have a Zoom account, and then you have to go to more settings. So you go to the settings menu, general settings, and then view more settings.
Oh, there you go.
And then that requires you to sign in on the web, and up there you can upload a picture of yourself under the profile tab.
So I did all that, and I still can't seem to activate it from within the Zoom client. Is there?
So you have on your page, it looks like this. It says that.
Yep, exactly.
Huh.
And then what do you do now if you want that to show up?
I think. Well, I just hit stop video and it shows up.
So I stopped my video. Are you seeing that? Are you seeing my picture?
I'm seeing just your call sign.
Okay.
Ken, is your picture on that page that Levi just showed you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So Levi, do you see your picture when you stop your video?
Try this. Ken, go to settings, profile. Does your picture show in there in the app, not on the web, but in the Zoom app?
Where are the settings?
I'm on a Mac, so it's under the application name, but it's probably under. I don't
Oh, there
know.
we go. Settings and then video.
Settings, profile.
I don't even have a profile under settings.
Comment.
Should be on the list.
I just submitted a chat text. Do not laminate your doggone vaccine cards. TSA is rejecting them. Don't do that.
Okay.
Ken was disappointed that his picture turned out looking like Levi.
Oh, brother.
What?
Mine works. Mine just does this.
That's cool.
I'm on Chrome. I don't get those choices.
Well,
I don't get those choices because I have Linux.
Did you just do it, Ken?
Pardon?
Did you just do it?
I did, so I probably have to close and reopen the Zoom meeting or something.
Yeah, probably. It says relaunch Zoom, and you should be able to see your profile picture.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll leave real quick and come right back in again. Let me try it and see what happens.
Okay. Hey, Les, did you have your hand up? Oh, you got a little wavy thing there. Okay. Oh, it just disappeared entirely.
Oh, I did that. I hit lower hand.
Oh, okay.
So he.
Oh, I guess it moved him up to the corner. That's right. Everybody got moved around and I got confused here. All right. Now, so we're waiting on Ken.
Oh, another. While we're waiting for Ken to come back, there's a. If you lose your vaccine card, if we're talking about vaccines, you can go to the California Immunization Registry. It's cairweb.org, and it's from the California Department of Public Health. And if you make a request on there for your immunization report, they'll send you a PDF. Mine had my COVID shot as well as a shot, the tetanus shot that I got at a pharmacy a few months ago. So they're tracking all of that, and you can get it all from one place, which is kind of nice. And that is probably a little better proof. There's Ken. Is
Yeah,
even
there you
better
go.
proof than the vaccine card, which could easily be printed out from the CDC website and faked. Ken, how old are you in that picture?
20 years younger, right?
It doesn't even look like Ken.
Is that Ken's son?
No, it's Ken.
Is that Ken?
It's Levi. Funny.
Oh, I guess it is. Okay, well, Ken.
Here,
There we go. I was muted. Sorry.
Yeah, you were muted.
Okay, Levi, how old are you? In your
I don't think it's fair to use a picture that old.
Levi, how old are you in your picture?
That was in 2014, 2013. No, 2011.
10 years
10
ago.
years ago.
10 years ago.
So mine, let's see when mine was. So you gotta be curious now. I have absolutely no idea. Let's see when Ryan took that. That was 2000 and, well, the date on here is 2012, but I think it was probably older than that.
The film was in the camera for 5 years before that.
Oh, you know what? Let's see what the EXIF data says. I got this new machine now, and it doesn't just pop up my EXIF data right away. So, yeah, it's not telling. Oh wait, here it is. Let's see. Looks like it might have been 2012. I don't believe that though.
Iceland.
Longer ago. Would have been my mid 40s.
Magnolia Shopping Center, right, Ken?
What's that?
This is how you looked in the Magnolia Shopping Center.
No, this is way before that.
No, that's like a picture.
Oh, here's a date
in
taken.
the
I got it.
mirror.
It's
That's what you
2000
see in the mirror, Ken. That you're like, yeah.
2007, July 16th, 2007. So I was
Gee, I
14.
was right. It was in the camera for a long time.
I was 40, 39 or 40.
Well, geez, I got kids older than that.
Yeah.
Way older than that.
Mine are
Wow,
mine
you
are only
were
30. Mine are
starting
33
early
now.
there, Brian. Jeez.
My son is going to be 50. I think he is 50.
Mine is.
No, 49.
Mine's 49.
I just started. I'm gonna have a little 2-year-old.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yep, that's
Brian,
what I've
if
been.
you're as old as my dad, then good on you, man, because you're doing pretty good. So,
You know what's really
I
weird?
just turned 50. Dang it. So,
Young people.
don't
Who
remind
is
me.
that guy, Daryl?
He's my grandson. He's 13 now. And he,
Oh, I thought that was you when you were young.
no, count the merit badges.
Oh, wow.
And he isn't done. He is intent on earning every one that exists. He'll do it. He was honored. They just finished a popcorn sale, his troop, and turns out that he is now recognized as the #1 seller. This boy, #1 seller. He's named Maverick, by the way, and in all of the Western states, he's the #1 seller of popcorn.
How much did he sell, Daryl?
Oh my God, $50,000 worth of popcorn.
Does he want a job?
So
Yeah.
I need him at the store.
I know everybody can use him, but he's probably going to real estate with his father. Amazing.
Hey, I have 4 kids, 40, 38, 36, 34, and 7 years prior, he's now 32. I have a grandson that's 14 years old, and I have a son, Chris, my 3rd child, who needs a job because he's living with my ex-wife, and he cannot get a clue what he wants to do.
There you go, Ken.
You know what's really, really weird is when you have someone working for you and you're chatting with him, a young man, and he's talking about his dad, and he tells you how old his dad is, and it turns out his dad is younger than you are. That's when you really start feeling old.
Sorry, Ken.
Yeah, well,
You guys are all young.
not for long. It's creeping.
I know.
Happy birthday, Dennis.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks.
yeah, happy
75.
birthday, Dennis.
Oh, thank you, Michael. 70.
Thanks, everybody.
Happy birthday,
There's a link
Dennis.
somebody just put up for you.
By the way, anybody realize that Dennis OBB is the only one who gave his call sign?
But we're on Zoom tonight.
Who's call
Yeah,
sign?
well, why would you have to give call signs?
That's not a good thing.
You
Yeah,
can see
better
mine
do it-
right there. It's
You
right
better
at the
do it
bottom of
phonetically.
the screen.
Yeah, are we supposed to do the John way phonetically? Whiskey
I have
Zero
a-
Juliet Foxtrot Bravo.
I have
Wait.
call letters. I don't have call phonetics.
I think I can send packets. Maybe I can send packets by Morse.
There you go.
Oh, look,
I'll just turn the Ethernet on and off.
Levi changed his
See if I can
picture.
do it fast enough.
Oh, we have to what?
Well, now he looks older.
Oh,
He
Not
looks more
much.
distinguished. He's got a beard.
oh, okay.
Hey, be careful, Brian. Santa might give you a lump of coal.
So how'd you do that, Levi? Did you have to exit and come back in again?
No, I didn't, because I guess I already had one, so it let me change it. But I guess if you're putting one in for the first time, you have to exit and come back in.
So did you already had multiple profile pictures?
Well, I just uploaded a different one I was able to do it in the app.
Oh,
Hey,
so
Levi,
you had to change it.
Levi, thanks for the app info, but I've already got my vaccine through the Santa Maria J&J, March 20th.
Oh, good. Well, that link will just give you a printout or a PDF actually that you download of the record. So if the vaccine card isn't good enough for whatever purpose, hopefully that would be. But
I'm good.
If they honestly, if they start asking for your vaccine card.
I think for travel, I don't know, they might ask for it for travel. Otherwise, you got to get a test. So
Maybe international. I can't see it.
Well, no, cruise ships actually require it.
I thought you said cruise chef.
No,
Yeah,
the
him
cruise
too.
ships.
I'm not going to 1960s Soviet Union, so I won't need it.
Cruise ships.
Cruise
Levi, come on.
You said
Oh,
cruise
they do
chef
it, huh?
requires it.
Birthday?
Probably still does.
Probably still does.
Yeah.
So Levi, I uploaded a new one and I'm stopping and starting my video and I'm not getting the new one.
Oh, maybe it's different with the Apple versus the Windows version of the software. That's the only thing I can think of.
Kind of a bummer because it's one of when I was 1.5 years old. So I thought it'd be really funny to have the super young one up there.
Did they have cameras then?
Apparently they were stereoscopic actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had the cape you had to put over your head, right?
8 by 10.
And look into the two window things.
Yeah.
And that's a good one. You just,
Did you
Hey,
have?
you should have seen in the military when you go through the shot line in 1970s, they would put you through the shot line and you would have no shirt on, and they have 2 aromatic injectors, and they would hit you. Boom, boom, boom. You get all your pneumatics, influenza, and what do you call it? All your shots all at once. It's just like inoculations. It's like I ended up on the bed with head to toe, head rash and everything from oh my God, I can't think of it. It was terrible. I ended up 3 days on the rack. 3 days on the rack. It's terrible.
All right.
It was terrible.
Okay, everybody. I think we ought to get out of here.
Right.
Yeah.
All righty.
Gone.
Okay. Thanks,
Adios.
everyone.
See you on 2 meters.
Night.
Good to see everybody. It was a good program. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, good. Glad you liked it, Daryl.